As I thought about what to talk about today, I spent a lot of time contemplating my own thoughts on race and politics and do one and the other and mix with sports and how has that played out in my life. And as I thought about it, I kind of thought and said, wow, I've kind of always had a very, very multicultural type of tennis program and had people from all over, and thinking about some of the interesting mixes that we've had over time. And so then I sat and I started jotting down, well, where have all of these people come from? And how neat was it that when parents were picking up kids that, listening to parents talk on cell phones, that, no two people were speaking the same language, and it was kind of like the United Nations, and I wanted to put the hearing aid in and get the translator to tell me what everybody was talking, though that was not ever going to happen. And so as I wrote it down, I came up with almost 30 countries that kids have come from here in the past, I guess really just actually since I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. So, we're talking in the past decade. I think back to, we had a guest coach here from Macedonia, and at the time, one of the main families in the program was from Turkey. And to listen to the mom talk about, well, yeah, we from Turkey, we hate Macedonians because they killed a lot of us. And then she kind of, a couple seconds later, a little pause, and she says, but we killed lots of them too. But to watch and to see that, it doesn't play out on the tennis court, but to also be wary of that and to know about the politics between mainland China and Taiwan, as we have kid from each playing doubles together in a tournament, and how do we do that, and white South Africans playing with Nigerians and Ghanaians, and how does that all play out, and what a neat place it is when you can have a program like that. One of the things that has pained me a lot over time is that people that look like me, African Americans, black people, have kind of felt like I didn't do enough to support black kids playing tennis, or that I wasn't exclusively devoting my skills to black kids that are playing tennis. And to me, that's not ever gonna happen. Largely because if in Arthur Ashe's passing, if I could have had one possession of his, it would have been a T-shirt that said "Citizen of the World." That that's very much who I believe myself to be. I've often said that I believe for 2 generations everybody needs to have kids with someone of another race, another ethnicity, and then we'd all be mutts and we could kind of throw all this in the past. Being called a sellout and Uncle Tom at times has hurt me, and at other times has been a badge of honor that I've worn. That the fact that I look at everyone individually is a very, very important thing to me, because I think it's how everyone needs to be looked at. The fact that others don't recognize the fact that my mom passed away and left me a significant chunk of money, and I threw it all, I don't want to say throw it all away, but I took a lot of it and devoted those resources to helping some young African American males kind of try and pursue a dream that they had, and supported them and sponsored them and coached them. And that isn't recognized. It has hurt at times, but I guess as I've now entered the 47th year, or 48th year of my life, just had my 47th birthday, that I recognize that all I can really take care of is what do I do with my time, and what do I do with my resources, and do I help other people, and do I serve other people, and how is that viewed by the Most High God that I respect. That I think that if I can work on that a little bit more and work on worrying about what other people think a little bit less, I might be able to move this whole thing forward a little bit. Tennis is really neat because it's a sport that can bring together, and does bring together, people from everywhere, that as long as on merit you can get into an event, then how far you go in the event doesn't have anything to do with did a coach like you and get drafted and what's politically correct. It has everything to do with, did I hit the ball within the lines more times than the person on the other side? And if I do, I win and I keep moving forward in the draw. If I don't, I lose, I go home, I figure out what I did wrong, I try it all. But that hasn't happened recently. And I think that that's a sad thing. That when I look at what has transpired here in the past week, with young lady from Israel not being allowed to play a tournament in the United Arab Emirates, Dubai specifically, based on the fact that she's traveling on an Israeli passport, I think is counter to what sport is all about. That when I listen to people like Douglas MacArthur talk about, upon the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds, on other fields, on other days will bear the fruits of victory. We got to learn some lessons. And I think if we don't find a way to open up those doors, we're all the worse for it. I commend the young lady, Shahar Peer, for taking a restrained response and saying she doesn't want, her fellow competitors to be harmed and have the WTA cancel the event. And I know that, the political considerations that went into keeping her from playing the event can't all be known and can't be understood by people that aren't living in that situation. That we certainly see things as we are rather than as they are. And the lens through which, that decision was made is very different than most of us have ever had to live through. And I choose not to judge those that made the decision, and hopefully they did it for things that were pure of heart and guided by, those things that they believe are important. And, we have to learn to live with that. And, I wonder when Arthur Ashe went and played in South Africa, when everyone was saying boycott South Africa because of apartheid, and how that all came about. If this isn't to some degree a similar situation where we have to kind of look beyond what is going on, and maybe there isn't a platform, to speak out and look to create some kind of social change and to bring the world closer together because of what has happened over this past little bit of time.